In a world where smartphones have become an extension of the hand and social media a part of identity, teenagers have encountered a threat unseen by previous generations. Cyberbullying, digital harassment that pursues the victim 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without the possibility of refuge, even within the walls of their own home. 1 in 3 school children worldwide has been a target of online aggression at least once, and 1 in 5 admits to having participated in bullying others. The anonymity of the network creates an illusion of impunity, turning ordinary teenagers into merciless tormentors. The particular danger of cyberbullying lies in its ubiquity. Offensive messages, humiliating photos and videos, fake accounts, and public ridicule become part of everyday life. The digital footprint remains forever, and material once published can haunt a person for years, destroying reputation and psychological well-being. Digital bullying of teenagers manifests in various forms, each inflicting unique harm on the victim's psychological well-being. The most common type of cyberbullying remains textual insults, aggressive messages, threats, and humiliating comments filling private messages and public discussions. 13-year-old Elisa faced a flood of hateful comments after posting her drawing in the school chat. Quote, "Such messages arrived daily for a month." The spread of compromising materials poses a particular danger. Photos taken in the changing room, unflattering pictures at a party, or intentionally edited images become weapons of mass humiliation. 15-year-old Mikhail fell victim to such an attack when his poor performance at a school concert turned into a viral meme, accompanied by offensive captions. No less destructive is social isolation in the digital space. The deliberate exclusion of a teenager from group chats, ignoring their messages, blocking them on social networks. In today's world, where a significant portion of communication occurs online, such rejection is tantamount to social death. Cyberstalking, persistent intrusive online harassment, takes the form of continuous monitoring of the victim's activity, the aggressor appearing on all online platforms where the teenager is present. 14-year-old Sophia encountered a stalker who created dozens of fake accounts to bypass blocks and continue sending threatening messages. Impersonation, creating fake profiles in the victim's name, allows aggressors to publish offensive content seemingly originating from the teenager themselves, destroying their reputation and relationships with others. Why do some teenagers become instigators of bullying, while others become its victims? The answer lies in the unique psychological mechanisms of the digital space. Online anonymity is the first and most powerful factor transforming behavior. Hiding behind a screen, a person feels invulnerable, an invisible observer capable of acting without consequences. Psychologists call this effect online disinhibition, a state where social norms and internal inhibitions weaken. In real life, most aggressors would never dare to utter the insults aloud that they easily type in comments. The absence of direct contact with the victim creates emotional distance. Not seeing tears, a trembling voice, or slumped shoulders, the bully does not experience natural empathy. 16-year-old Kirill, who participated in the group bullying of a classmate, admitted to the school psychologist, "I didn't think it really hurt him. They were just words on a screen." Another important mechanism is group dynamics and conformity. Studies show that 70% of teenagers join bullying out of fear of becoming victims themselves or out of a desire to raise their social status. Virtual approval, likes, reposts, supportive comments, becomes a powerful reinforcement for aggressive behavior. The motives of aggressors are diverse, from compensating for their own insecurity to projecting personal problems. Often, bullies are teenagers who themselves experience violence at home or are under severe stress. Digital bullying is a way for them to regain a sense of control and power. The effect of the infinite digital footprint plays a special role. Unlike a verbal altercation in a school hallway, which might be forgotten the next day, online humiliation persists, spreads, and can resurface years later. This factor greatly amplifies the psychological damage to the victim and creates the illusion of the irreversibility of the situation. Digital bullying inflicts deep emotional wounds, often invisible to others, yet devastating to a teenager's inner world. When 14-year-old Daria first saw her edited photo with offensive comments in the school chat, she experienced instant shock, a state of stupor where the brain is unable to process what is happening. Shock was followed by acute anxiety, a racing heart, sweating, a feeling of unreality, the girl recalls. Psychologists identify several levels of emotional consequences of cyberbullying. Primary reactions include shame, humiliation, and an acute fear of social evaluation. The teenager feels exposed before a crowd, stripped of protection and control over the situation. A peculiarity of online bullying is that the victim does not know how many people have seen the humiliating content, which intensifies paranoid experiences. Secondary emotional reactions form within weeks after the incident. 80% of teenagers develop a persistent distrust of others, says 16-year-old Marina, who experienced bullying. Self-esteem is the most vulnerable target of cyberbullying. The adolescent brain is particularly susceptible to social evaluation, and repeatedly negative messages are internalized, becoming part of self-perception. Admits 15-year-old Alexei. Long-term emotional consequences include chronic self-doubt, social anxiety, and learned helplessness. Bullying in the digital space is especially dangerous because it undermines a basic sense of security. Home ceases to be a refuge. Aggressors penetrate through the smartphone screen into the victim's personal space, depriving them of their last sanctuary of peace. When the emotional stress from cyberbullying becomes chronic, it transitions into clinically significant conditions. Medical statistics are relentless. Teenagers subjected to systematic digital harassment are 3 times more likely to develop generalized anxiety disorder. The constant anticipation of a new attack forms pathological vigilance. The brain shifts into a continuous threat-scanning mode. 17-year-old Christina, after 6 months of harassment on social media, developed classic symptoms of anxiety disorder, intrusive thoughts of possible humiliation, muscle tension, sleep disturbances, panic attacks at the sound of phone notifications. I would wake up at night and the first thing I did was check my phone to see if any new insults had appeared, the girl recounts. A Columbia University study encompassing over 2,000 teenagers revealed a direct correlation between the intensity of cyberbullying and the severity of depressive symptoms. 60% of digital harassment victims show signs of clinical depression, loss of interest in previously enjoyable activities, changes in appetite, sleep disturbances, feelings of hopelessness. Of particular concern is the link between cyberbullying and suicidal behavior. Teenagers subjected to online harassment are 4 times more likely to report suicidal thoughts and 2.5 times more likely to attempt suicide. The tragic case of 14-year-old Maxim, who left a suicide note mentioning months of harassment in a school chat, compelled specialists to speak of cyberbullying as a direct threat to life. Neurobiological studies indicate that constant stress from online persecution causes structural changes in the developing adolescent brain. The hippocampus, the area responsible for emotional regulation, decreases in volume, while the amygdala, associated with the fear response, shows increased activity even in neutral situations. The social sphere is one of the most vulnerable areas of adolescent development, and cyberbullying delivers a devastating blow precisely to it. When 14-year-old Irina encountered systematic bullying in a school chat, her first reaction was not emotional suffering, but a radical change in social behavior. "I started avoiding any group activities," the girl admits. "First online, then in real life." Social isolation becomes a defense mechanism for most victims of digital bullying. 70% of teenagers who have experienced cyberbullying significantly reduce their social circle, limiting social contacts to a minimum. Paradoxically, it is precisely during a period when the formation of social skills is critically important for the future that an adolescent finds themselves torn from their natural socialization environment. The distortion of perceptions about normal interpersonal relationships is particularly dangerous. The traumatic experience of digital bullying forms persistent negative beliefs. Trust always leads to betrayal. Intimacy is dangerous. People use your vulnerabilities against you. These beliefs become the foundation for building all future relationships. 16-year-old Dennis, who endured a year of intense bullying on social networks, developed a specific communication pattern. Superficial contacts with a large number of people without forming deep connections. "I learned to be a pleasant conversationalist, but I don't let anyone get too close," he explains. "It's like having a protective barrier around you." Studies show that social patterns formed in response to cyberbullying tend to persist into adulthood. Young people who experienced digital bullying in adolescence demonstrate increased levels of distrust towards colleagues, difficulties in building romantic relationships, and a tendency towards professional self-isolation. How to recognize that a teenager has become a victim of cyberbullying? This question often remains unanswered until the situation reaches a critical point. Parents and educators often notice the problem too late, when emotional wounds are already deep. Meanwhile, digital bullying leaves noticeable traces in a teenager's behavior. One just needs to know what to pay attention to. The first and most obvious sign is a sudden change in attitude towards digital devices. If a child, who previously spent time enthusiastically on social networks, suddenly loses interest in online communication, this should be a cause for concern. 15-year-old Anna, who was bullied for months in a school chat, began to experience physical discomfort at the sound of notifications. She admits, "Emotional indicators are no less important. Inexplicable bursts of anxiety after using gadgets, sharp mood swings, irritability, or withdrawal." Parents often attribute these symptoms to missing the true cause. A teenager's reaction to adults' attempts to inquire about their online activity is particularly indicative. Victims of cyberbullying demonstrate a disproportionate defensive reaction, frantically guarding their personal space. Changes in social behavior are another alarming sign. If a sociable child begins to avoid school events, refuses to meet friends, or stops attending clubs, this may signal problems in the digital environment. 16-year-old Maxim, who faced bullying in an online game, gradually reduced his social circle to a minimum. "I stopped trusting people," he explains. "It seemed that every new acquaintance could be one of those who were mocking me online." In the digital world, where teenagers spend a significant part of their lives, cyberbullying prevention is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. Digital hygiene, a set of skills for safe online behavior, should be taught as naturally as rules for crossing the street or personal hygiene. Modern educational programs include teaching privacy settings, managing one's digital footprint, and critically evaluating the content teenagers encounter. Research shows that schools that have implemented digital literacy courses report a 30% reduction in online aggression incidents. Effective programs necessarily include practical components. Not just lectures about dangers, but interactive trainings where teenagers learn to recognize manipulation and defend themselves against it. A special role is played by the formation of empathy in the digital space. Psychologists have developed special exercises that help teenagers realize the real consequences of virtual actions. 13-year-old Ekaterina, who participated in such a training, admits, "Before, I didn't think that the person on the other side of the screen could cry because of my comment. Now I'll think 3 times before writing something." A crucial element of prevention is the formation of a culture of witnesses. Most episodes of cyberbullying occur in the presence of silent observers who are afraid to intervene. The Active Witness program teaches teenagers safe strategies for interrupting bullying, from direct confrontation with the aggressor to quiet support for the victim and appealing to adults. Parental education is another key component. Adults often lag behind children in understanding the digital environment, which creates a dangerous communication gap. Modern programs offer parents not only technical knowledge about how social platforms work, but also skills for confidential communication with teenagers about their online life, without excessive control and invasion of privacy. In the age of digital communication, protection against cyberbullying requires not only psychological, but also technical knowledge. Modern platforms offer a wide arsenal of security tools available to every teenager. Privacy settings are the first line of defense against unwanted attention. Limiting access to personal information, controlling who sees posts, and managing friend lists allow for the creation of a protected space on social networks. 16-year-old Polina, after a month of bullying, completely revised her digital footprint. "I made my account private, deleted geotags from all photos, and disabled the ability to tag me in posts without my consent." The aggressor blocking feature is an effective way to stop direct contact with a persecutor. Most platforms not only allow blocking individual users, but also filtering comments by keywords, automatically hiding potentially offensive messages. 14-year-old Artyom set up filters for all the nicknames he was called. It didn't solve the problem completely, but it allowed me to breathe more freely. Collecting and preserving evidence of bullying is of particular importance. Screenshots of offensive messages, saving threatening emails, and documenting systematic attacks are necessary steps for subsequent recourse for help. Many teenagers avoid this step out of fear or shame, but it is the evidentiary basis that becomes a key element when interacting with platform administration or law enforcement agencies. Legal regulation of cyberbullying varies significantly in different countries. Some states have adopted special laws criminalizing digital bullying. For example, New Zealand has the Harmful Digital Communications Act, which provides for serious sanctions for online harassment. In Russia, such actions can be classified under articles on threats, slander, or incitement to suicide. Although there is no specific law on cyberbullying yet, teenagers and their parents often underestimate the legal possibilities of protection. Contacting the platform's support service with a demand to remove offensive content, complaining to the school administration, or in serious cases, filing a police report are consistent steps that can stop digital bullying. It is important to remember that silence and inaction only reinforce the victim's feeling of helplessness and the aggressor's impunity. When a teenager becomes a victim of cyberbullying, initial psychological help can prevent the development of serious emotional trauma. The most crucial principle of support is unconditional acceptance of the victim's feelings. Phrases like, "Don't pay attention," or "Just turn off your phone," devalue their experiences and intensify feelings of loneliness. Instead, parents and educators should create a safe space where the teenager can express the full spectrum of emotions, from anger to shame and fear. 15-year-old Vera, who had been bullied for months in a school chat, first felt relief when the school psychologist simply listened to her story without judgment or advice. He didn't say I was exaggerating or needed to be stronger. He just said it was unfair and painful. It was like a breath of fresh air. An important component of primary care is restoring a sense of control. Victims of cyberbullying often feel completely helpless in the face of attacks that can occur at any time of day. Experts recommend developing a step-by-step action plan with the teenager. What technical protective measures to take, whom to contact, how to document instances of bullying. The planning process itself restores a sense of agency instead of the role of a victim. Emotional self-regulation techniques become a lifeline for teenagers in the acute phase of stress. Breathing exercises, grounding methods, listing 5 objects you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, and attention-shifting techniques help cope with panic attacks and acute emotional reactions. Family and school form 2 key spaces where teenagers spend most of their lives. When these institutions operate in concert, they create a protective barrier against cyberbullying, capable of both preventing harassment and minimizing its consequences. Research shows that teenagers who feel family support are 60% less likely to become victims of digital aggression and recover faster if they do encounter it. Parental involvement, not control, but emotional presence and a willingness to listen becomes the foundation of psychological safety. 13-year-old Oleg, who endured months of harassment in an online game, admits, "I didn't tell my parents because I was afraid they would just take away my computer. But when Mom just sat next to me and asked what was happening without judging me, everything changed." The school environment requires a systematic approach to the problem. Effective models include 3 components: educational programs for all students, special training for educators, and transparent protocols for responding to cases of harassment. Programs where older students mentor younger ones, creating a culture of mutual support, are particularly successful. In Gymnasium number 18, the Digital Mentors Project reduced cyberbullying incidents by 40% in 1 academic year. The school's psychological service becomes the link between the family and the educational institution. Modern school psychologists undergo special training in working with digital harassment, mastering methods of group therapy and individual counseling. It is important to create a system where a teenager can report a problem without fear of stigmatization or retaliation. Anonymous suggestion boxes, online forms for reporting harassment, regular classroom discussions. These simple tools significantly increase the detection of cyberbullying cases in their early stages. The future of combating cyberbullying lies not in reactive measures, but in shaping a new digital culture of communication. We stand on the threshold of an era where technological solutions must be combined with profound social changes, creating a space where online interaction is built on principles of respect and empathy. Recent research shows the most effective path is the integration of technological, psychological, and social approaches into a unified protection ecosystem. Artificial intelligence is becoming a powerful ally in this fight. Algorithms capable of identifying patterns of aggressive behavior and potentially dangerous situations are already being implemented on major platforms. The Digital Guardian system, developed by an international team of programmers and psychologists, analyzes not only text but also the context of messages, detecting hidden forms of bullying with up to 87% accuracy. Simultaneously, digital education programs are developing, integrated into the school curriculum from an early age. Finland, a leader in this field, has included a course on digital empathy in the mandatory primary school curriculum. The results are impressive. In 5 years, serious cyberbullying cases have decreased by a third. Programs based on positive reinforcement show particular promise. Instead of prohibitions and punishments, they focus on encouraging constructive online behavior. The Digital Citizen platform rewards teenagers for supporting peers, intervening in bullying situations, and creating positive content. A crucial direction is the formation of support communities, safe online spaces where victims can receive help from peers who have experienced similar situations. Research confirms such groups not only accelerate emotional recovery, but also transform traumatic experiences into a resource for personal growth. The future of protecting teenagers in the digital world lies in comprehensive programs that unite the efforts of technology companies, educational institutions, parents, and teenagers themselves. Only such a multi-level approach can create an environment where digital technologies serve as a tool for development, not for personality destruction. And most importantly, we must teach the younger generation not just to survive in the digital world, but to actively shape its culture based on respect, empathy, and responsibility for their actions in virtual space.